L space.
I'll change the typing echo to words.
Words. Good. Man. To. A. There. Enter. Today. I. Needed.
And now I'll switch it to characters and words.
Both characters and words. Th with. L-U-K-U-F-O-R-D for A-E-R-E-U-A-T at.
And that's
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a little too much chatter for my taste. So I'm quite content to go with just characters. That's fine with me.
Right.
Character.
And I go with characters because I can tell exactly what I'm typing when I'm typing it. So that's yeah, and touch typing. Anybody can learn to touch type, and if you master that, you don't need any kind of special characters or special keyboard or anything like that. You just go for it.
So you could write and reply to dozens of emails a day if you needed to. Without.
And I do.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah. That's well, I don't always reply to dozens, but I certainly read my share of email. But I can write any new messages that I want to and reply to as many as I choose. So.
And how much effort does it take for people to pick up these skills so that they can do what you're doing?
It really kind of varies, from individual to individual. Some people pick it up quicker than others, but it it depends really on how much time you put into it as well. If some people can master the essentials of JAWS in just a few days. Some it may take longer. It kind of depends on how much time you spend with it, in the initial learning, and then how much you apply what you've learned. One of the things that we've found here at the program is that students who come in and take the class, if they have a computer to work with at home, so that they leave the class and then they're actively working on things back at home or wherever they happen to be, if they have access to a computer with JAWS or whatever they're using, they're going to do better than someone who is just using it in the class only. That's not to say they won't do well, but it just is going to, having the machine outside of class is going to reinforce those skills.
How expensive are these technologies for people to purchase?
In my opinion, much too expensive. The JAWS for Windows Screen Magnifier for the standard edition runs about $1,000, give or take a few bucks. The professional version, which runs on Windows XP Pro and the higher end flavors of Windows Vista, are closer to $1,200. The Magic Screen Magnifier, I think that and the ZoomText Screen Magnifier are both around probably $600 thereabouts. And when you consider that, you can go out and buy a fully loaded computer over at Best Buy or someplace for probably $500 or $600. When you combine that with the cost of the screen reader or the screen magnifying technology, that's a pretty expensive package. So, and I realize how vendors or the manufacturers rationalize it. It's a niche market, and there's a lot of R&D that goes into these things, and they have to recoup their investments somehow. But to my way of thinking, it would be nicer if those programs were a bit cheaper.
Yeah. What do you find? What do you enjoy, and what do you not enjoy about your work here?
Well, the things that I enjoy here, I get to meet a lot of really interesting folks. But the thing that really turns me on about this work is that I'm showing people this technology and getting them into it, imparting the information about the technology, letting them get a feel for the, experiencing the benefits of the technology that I have experienced personally, both, for educational and professional use, and just enhancing productivity in my daily life. I use a computer all the time for all kinds of things: shopping, reading a newspaper, just corresponding with people, you name it. I mean, there's all kinds of things I can do with a computer. So, the being able to show people what this technology is about and how it can benefit them, and seeing them learn it and go, aha, hey, this is really cool stuff, and I want to learn more. When that happens, that is very rewarding to me. As far as the things that I don't like, I guess probably if I had to say, it's just they're probably some of the administrative aspects, but I don't need to get into that really. Just we deal with the Department of Rehabilitation, and not wishing to speak ill of the department, because they bring us a lot of good business, but there are certain aspects to dealing with that bureaucracy that are not the ideal. So, and that's as much as I'm going to say about that.
What were you doing before you got online in 1995 as far as work?
Well, I'll kind of give you my whole story in a nutshell. I signed on with IBM back in 1976. I was an 1978. Sorry, I was an application programmer, actually writing software that was used by the marketing reps and systems engineers. And I had a device called the Opticon, which basically was a box maybe about 2/3 the size of this here. It had a little array that I could stick my finger in, and it had a camera that was attached by a cable. And what I could do is I could run this cable across the screen, back and forth, or across a printed page. And as I would do that, then an array of pins would come up and vibrate in patterns that were that corresponded to the characters that I was reading. So there were no screen readers at the time on the mainframe, and so that's how I was reading the screen. So I had a 16-year run with IBM. I left in May of '94, and then began learning about PCs. And my idea was that I was going to get back into programming, but I went to UCLA, took a course there in C programming, and I took a course in Unix, and then I went to WCIL, the Westside Center for Independent Living, and I learned a bit about Visual Basic and Microsoft Access and some other things while I was there. Went through their training project, and then I went out job hunting. And the problem that I ran into was that a lot of these companies would look at my resume and say, hey, the resume looks great. You've got 16 years of programming experience, but you've got to start all over again, basically, at an entry level. And
why?
Well, because I was new to the modern technologies, the Visual Basic and those kinds of things that were in use at the time versus the old procedural programming languages. And so I kind of decided, well, maybe it's time to think about doing something else. And as luck would have it, I ended up working for a mom and pop outfit called Sweetman Systems out of Arleta. And basically what they do is they put together computer systems for the blind and visually impaired that are equipped with screen readers and screen magnifiers.